This is good. We had made sure that we had good weather so we can get into the room the whole day. Yeah.
Thank you.
This is our fourth big event. I mean, we do small, regular meetings during the year as well, but this is our fourth big one. We have so many people attending this year, and I know this doesn't seem like it, but I also know that a lot of people quite skip keynote. I don't know why, because they missed the best part of the whole 2 days. So it's whatever. Yeah. You guys are here, that's wonderful. We are almost 280 people coming these 2 days. 250 people per day, that's an increase of 20% compared to last year. So it's going to be cramped around noon. So I changed the title a little bit. So I said remain social. And a couple of reasons why we're here. We're here to learn, to listen, but also to participate, to talk, to share with your peers. I mean, just address people sitting next to you. If you don't know them, talk to them. You might be surprised what you can learn and what people are involved in. Have fun. And also, if you're here on Friday, and I suggest you will be here on Friday, because we got a drawing and there's a lot of stuff you can win. More about it later. Some figures, we have 44 sessions in total, 41 different speakers, 16 of them are IBM champions. There are only 63 champions in the whole world, and 16 of them are here, which is quite remarkable. It's just amazing. The speakers are from 10 different countries. The top ones, we got 10 people from the US, Ireland, Northern Ireland. I hope I pronounced it correctly. From 9 people. And then other 9 from the UK. If you don't know what Northern Ireland is, just talk to those guys, they know. Okay. 80% of these speakers have presented at Lotusphere already. And you see the count is wrong because last night I had 5 extra people registering. So. And by the way, 40% of the people here are not from Belgium, which is quite a lot actually. And like I said, 20% more. I just want to have just mention our sponsors because this event is free because of them. They make it happen, and they're very generous. So definitely visit their booths. They've got some cool stuff to show you. Not only the IBM booth, but also the other booths. They've got some really cool stuff. So go there. Listen to them. There is a speech sponsoring tonight. If you don't know it, definitely try to come because it's a lot of fun. You learn a lot. And on top of that, I mean, you go to a booth, you get a 5-minute pitch from the people at the booth. And still for you, you got an advantage that, I mean, after 4 minutes, you can walk away if it's not interesting to you. If it is interesting to you, you can come back the day after. But at least you had a chance of going to a booth where you normally wouldn't go to. Just say, well, that's not my thing. But if you go to the speech sponsoring, you love it. And there's free beer. Also, by the way, in the event guide, there are some discounts. So check it out. My iPad crashed. I need an iPad 3. Okay, let's try this again. We're not going to start again. Here we go. So I'd like a round of applause for our sponsor, please. I've got some practical information to you. first of all, you have received a nice bag. There's a lot of nice and cool stuff in there. Check it out. There's some interesting flyers as well. You have received a separate event guide. Everything is in there, all the sessions, all the speakers, Squawkland, like I said, the discount as well. All the badges have a Twitter ID if you entered them when you registered, of course. And if you're on Twitter. And they also have a QR code. So, if you want to have somebody's information, then please ask him whether you can scan this QR code. Your QR code only contains your first name, last name, company, and email address. Not your phone number. We have 4 separate rooms. This one will be split in 2 during the lunch break. Coffee, juice, water, and fruit will be available during the day, so we don't have any particular coffee break. If you feel like a coffee, you just go there and you grab a coffee if the machine works. And there is some chocolate at the front desk. And there is a lot more chocolate for the speakers. A couple of extra things. There is free Wi-Fi in the hotel. Do not use BLUG 2012 because that's reserved for the speakers, because when they do presentations, they want to make sure that they have a good reception. Yeah. Do use the one from the hotel. When you log on to the one from the hotel, log in with BLUG lowercase, and then you have unlimited access. Don't abuse it. I mean, if everybody starts downloading the latest releases of iOS, it won't work. All right? So don't abuse it. Use hashtag BLUG in your tweets. You saw the Twitter wall again. Already a lot of tweets came in, so that's wonderful. We have many breaks, so do visit the booth. When you leave, if you leave tonight and you're not coming back tomorrow, ask for your free warming gift. You'll see what I mean when you get it later tonight. Or tomorrow if you leave on Friday. And also, a week after the event, something like that, you will receive an email from us to fill in the evaluation form. I mean, last year we had about 170 people filling in the evaluation form, and last year we had a free iPad giveaway. This year we have an iPhone 4S. So your odds are really good, actually. I see the winner in the room of the iPad also. You want one again, Paul? Okay. So we've got a couple of special sessions. We got, after the keynote session, we got a panel discussion with some very nice and knowledgeable people in the session. And we're going to talk about the fact that is social, does it really have business value? Or is it just a gimmick? You'll find out. At noon, in room room A, that's the first one, we got the Nerd Girls doing their Spark IDs. They did it at Lotusphere with huge success. Definitely, if you can, if you're not that hungry, there will be some sandwiches in the room as well. But try to go there because it's really interesting. For me, it was the best session I had at Lotusphere. And that says a lot. The bar is open at 6 o'clock. Sponsored by IBM. And 5 minutes later, we start the speech culture. 10 minutes later, and your host is going to be Paul Mooney. Yeah. So we did it last year as well, and because he really insisted, we asked him here. And on Friday is the closing session, like I said, a lot of prizes, but you have to be there to win. If your name is picked and you're not there, too bad, because the iPad 3 could be yours. And we have a couple of iPad 3s. Show them. Show them. Yeah, show them. But we do have them. I can show you this one, but that's Chris's. So we got books, we got a lot of software vouchers, we got iPods, iPads, so do come. Yeah. And I would really like to have a moment of silence. You know that something happened last week here in Belgium, and I asked Steve whether he want to say a few words about it.
Good morning, everyone. Theo has asked me, as one of the chronologically gifted members of the Notes Dominant community, just to say a few words. For the visitors and out-of-towners, you may not have known, or you may not have seen in the paper, Belgium was hit by a tragedy about 10 days ago. Several schools within Belgium had sent their children and teachers off to Switzerland to go on a skiing trip, and unfortunately the bus that they were on crashed and 22 children lost their lives, along with 6 teachers. And as I look out on the crowd this morning, I see many of you who started off as just colleagues, who have turned into firm friends. And one of the main defining points of the Lotus community is that it is a community. We are brothers and sisters together, friends and family, working for a common aim. And with that in mind, I think it's only fair and fitting that we take a minute before we start Bíleog in earnest, just to contemplate, and as a sign of respect for some of the funerals which I believe we're having today.
Yeah, yesterday and today.
Just to take a minute out of the day in quiet contemplation. It would be a very good thing to do. Thank you very much. And on to Bíleog.
Thanks, Steve. I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker. You've seen him already here, Christopher Crummy. He studied psychology. I don't know whether that says something about him, but probably does. He used to be a school teacher for a couple of years. He joined IBM just a few years ago. No, I'm kidding. For a long time already. And he currently is the lead evangelist for social business, so for all things we usually call Lotus. And as of 2009, he became a business unit executive. So I'm going to give the word to Chris. I just got this last slide here. This is what you have to do to, these 2 days. All right? Thanks a lot.
So, as Theo said, my name is Christopher Crummy, but before I start, can I just give a round of applause to Theo and his team and everyone involved? This is a really I've only done like 1 or 2 of these, so this is a very, very good event. To be more precise, this September will be my 22nd year at Lotus. Okay? So my first job was selling 1-2-3 for DOS. So a lot has changed in my almost 22 years here at IBM. I have the best job. I'm the lead evangelist worldwide for the technology. So everything that deals with what an end user sees. Starting with the mobile devices, to portal technology, to email, to social, to anything an end user sees, I'm pretty much responsible for. Okay? So my Twitter handle is ccrummy. We do have a Bíleog handle today. I do suggest and I do want you guys to Twitter your aha moments. As an evangelist, that is my currency. That is what I deal with, and this is going to be an interesting crowd because you guys are diehard Lotus and IBM, and so this I hopefully will squeeze out at least 1 or 2 things you haven't seen before, or at least 1 or 2 aha moments. So that is what I'm hoping you'll do is Twitter some of your aha moments. I have 4 things I'm going to try and do. I'm going to do some overview. I'm going to do a day in the life. I did 3 sessions. I did the mobile keynote at Lotusphere. I did the day in the life demonstration at Lotusphere. And then I did a 3rd one called the social business maturity curve. So it talked about how customers are deploying social business. Those are my 3 sessions. So I'm kind of combining those into one today to do a day in the life and show you some of the Lotusphere announcements and some sneak peek technology, some beta stuff. So I'm glad we already had our first crash on his iPad. So hopefully I won't be bitten by that bug. I did hand my other iPad to my wife. She refers to it as the ghetto iPad. So hopefully, I do have the new iPad 3. This is, don't look at it if you don't plan on buying it. Trust me, it's wonderful. Okay, so let's start with this concept of social business. Social business is pretty much the 5th era of IT. It's a $200 billion business by 2015. That is a lot of money. This is a big, big direction for us, and IBM is very much involved and is betting the farm on social business. So let's talk a little bit about that. So what's the difference between social media and social business? So social media is your external social strategy. It is your Twitter, your LinkedIn, things of that nature. And this is something that I also do, is have social business workshops with customers for free that will come and speak to the customers about, okay, what is your strategy for the outside? What is your strategy for the inside? So leveraging the technology to provide better customer service. I demand today as a user that I get a response from airlines on Twitter. And if I don't, I get irritated and they hear about it, right? So this type of functionality is huge. One of the biggest values of this social is speed. Is its speed. There's a reason why certain countries in the world are trying to shut down access to these things. It's because it happens so quickly they can't react. Why aren't you doing that on the inside of your firewall? Why aren't you leveraging that same speed on the inside? Right, so this is what we're going to talk about. YouTube is the 2nd largest search engine behind Google. Right? So does everyone have a YouTube strategy? I call it the school of YouTube. If I go to YouTube and I don't see anything that you have, then I know you're not trying to do social business. You should have training videos and product videos on everything that you do that you would do in front of a customer or in front of someone on YouTube today. Okay? 80% of all tweets are done through mobile devices. Right? So there's a reason. I actually ask people to turn their phone on when I start to present because I want that to happen. So there's a strategy here on the outside. But the larger concept is becoming a social business. And there's kind of 3 unique characteristics of it: being engaged, being transparent, and being nimble that we're going to talk more about. Which means this is part culture, this is part technology, part psychology. Finally, I get to use my college degree. Right? So there is some psychology that goes on here in terms of using social as a powerful tool on the inside. Can anyone tell me what the single greatest motivator for employees are? What's the single greatest motivator? An iPhone. Why am I not surprised? It's the single greatest motivator for employees. People think a paycheck.
Challenge?
No, it's feeling valued. Yeah, recognition is nice. iPhones are nice. Paychecks are nice. But feeling valued in what I do is the single greatest, motivator for employees. And I'm going to tell you right now, my email inbox is not the greatest email motivator, right? So there's got to be a different set. So there's a part technology, part culture, part social aspects that go on to the success of this. So we'll talk more about that in a minute. So IBM has a larger social business strategy. So it's not just the Lotus part, it's the entire IBM part that's involved. So understanding things like networking on the inside, concepts like dealing with your powerful data. We call it data at rest. Data needs to be moving, needs to be socialized. Then you have this idea of analyzing the information and then acting upon it. So there's different aspects. So that means the different parts of the IBM software group have value in this entire chain. So it's not just the Lotus division, it's all of the different divisions within IBM. Okay? So here's a perfect example. This is Lotus here. We had this big event down in Orlando, and we took our analysis tool and ran it against the feedback. So starting on the 17th, you'll notice that we did it against Twitter and the different forums and YouTube and Facebook and blog posts and news, whatever, and we had a 98% favorable rating on our announcements. That's a very powerful statement. This can even go further where you have predictive analysis. I can predict things are going to happen through the feedback on the mobile situation. There are certain banks in the United States that should have done that before they made the large announcements about things that they were doing because they got killed for it. Right? So the leveraging the social analytics is a powerful concept. So it's about making business more social. Our senior vice president, Steve Mills at IBM, refers to it as our collective intelligence. And here's the problem with this, is collective intelligence is gooey and it's gray and it moves and everyone likes things that are black and white and rigid in a box. And this is the major challenge that people have, is they like it in a box, but social is kind of a flowing goo. It's almost like a hug, right? It's like, okay. So that's the kind of the challenge that people are having, is this engagement of this concept. Because it's feelings are involved, emotions are involved, psychology is involved. So collective intelligence really does transform the behavior of the company. We're going to go through some examples. Here's a perfect example of one of our strategies. Notice at the bottom we have this set of advertisements. When you look at the Wall Street Journal, you'll notice there'll be certain advertisements on the web. This advertisement did not come from Ogilvy and Mather, which is our ad agency. It did not come from IBM. It actually came from a social idea business jam we had from our partners and customers. So we actually built our entire ad campaign socially from the ground up. We crowdsourced the entire situation. Right? So that's another concept, is you probably cannot do your job inside the firewall by yourself. Why aren't you leveraging the rest of the company to help your situation? Okay? So it's literally taking the things you see on the outside of the firewall and reusing them on the inside of the firewall. It's the same concepts. Okay? So very, very powerful stuff that we've got here. So I look at kind of where the Lotus areas are focusing from a product perspective. We have our email, we have our social, our web experience, our unified communication collaboration, cloud, mobile, and then kind of our app dev and standards area. So those are kind of the 7 major areas that you'll see from a bucket perspective. People like to put things in buckets. These are going to be the 7 that we're going to talk about today. Oh, there we go. So obviously one of the big announcements we made at Lotusphere was the announcement of Lotus Live joining the larger IBM cloud strategy. So now it is Smart Cloud for Social Business. So if you actually hit lotuslive.com, you'll be rerouted to a new URL, a new user experience for that. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over and kind of do in the day in the life of how I use this technology as an evangelist. And the idea here is so that you realize that this is a horizontal story and not just a vertical story. Right? I want to show it from start to finish, or how I use this technology within inside of IBM. So this is my notes client. You will notice that I'm actually running all of this on a Mac. Mostly because I'm in a midlife crisis, but that presentation's at 2 o'clock today. So this is something that's probably going to be one of the most important things I'm going to say today. To make social business successful, you absolutely need to make sure you align it to your business initiatives. Okay? You have to align, because otherwise you are installing technology for technology's sake. So when I visit customers, and I go, what is your social strategy? And they go, well, I've got a blog and I've got a wiki. And I said, no. You're mentioning features and functions to me. You are not mentioning your social business strategy. And a social business strategy has to be aligned to your business. So I'll give you an example. This is an example of how we're using this at IBM. What percentage do you think IBMers work or do not have an office? What percentage of IBMers do not have an office? They work from home or have a mobility center. What do you think the percentage is? 50%. 50%. It's 80 in the US and it's 50% worldwide. So I work from home, love the life-work balance, take the kids to the school bus, pick them off the school bus type situation, nice life-work balance. But IBM does not pay for my home telephone number. Okay? Now, with 50% of us not in the office, then that drives a different type of culture and behavior. So one of the biggest initiatives we have at IBM is called open computing, where I get to choose which device I have. I have an iPad over here. I've got a Mac right here. I've got an Android phone here. Very confused person. If I call the IBM internal technical support 800 number, I get support on two things, a BlackBerry and Windows XP. I'm not sure which one I hate more. Okay? If anyone's ever dealt with Windows XP memory management, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. Okay? So how is it that the Office of the CIO at IBM offers a global initiative called Open Computing where we support Linux, Mac, Windows, iPhones, Androids, iPads, tablets, and bring your own device to work strategy when you only officially support those two things? The only way to do that is crowdsource. Is to leverage the larger IBM machine and to tap into what we call tippers, evangelists, and natural champions. I'm a natural champion. I have nothing to do at IBM with officially with the iOS. I don't write iOS code or whatever. I write the official blog of my life at IBM with an iPad. So IBM's strategy was to leverage the natural champions and the experts and the evangelists and the tippers within IBM to support this initiative. You see the difference? You have to map it back to what you're trying to do to make that work. Very successful program. Okay, so let's start with my notes client. So I normally start with one of my iOS devices in the morning. I'll get to my email. And when I get there, I usually have, now that I'm 45 years old, I'll have one of those old person moments where I'm like, okay, I know Ed Brill and I were working on something. I cannot remember what Ed and I worked on. Was it a project? No, what was it that we worked on? So I'm just going to right-click on his name, and I'm going to say, show me the collaboration history that we've had. Right? So this is basically going to show me all the things that we've had in history together. Was it a project? Was it a meeting? Was it a chat? What was it that we had in common? And then if I wanted to, I can right-click on him and actually invite him to my social network within IBM. Right? So we want social to be a service. I don't want social to be a product. I don't want it to be someplace I have to go. I want it woven into my user experience and what I'm doing. It should be part of what I do. Right? So things of that nature. So you'll also notice if I hover my mouse over my business card here, I will get that type of information. So the business card gives me my information, my unified telephone number, my latest microblog. So just to let you know that we just shipped the Windows desktop connector on Friday. So you can now leverage Windows File Manager as a client to connections, which is really nice. So drag and drop, multiple drag and drop, things of that nature. Allows me to pivot off of this. So we have the same business card in Outlook as we do in Lotus Notes. This idea of a social business card will be in everything that we do. We have it in the iPad. We have it in SharePoint. We have it in Portal. Everywhere you see a name in our technology, you will see a social business card. Okay? There are two reasons why the social business card is important. One is it literally drives the adoption rate. That's one of the questions I get. How do I increase the adoption rate of stuff? You put it where the eyeballs are located. It's called social every place. That's the strategy. You want to put social every place the eyeballs are. And number two, the thing I love about it is it drives a self-service model. Right? So I don't get an email. If you want to go read my files, then you just pivot, click the files, and you go, and I'm out. I'm not in the email forward business. That's not what I get paid for. That's not what I want to do, is be in the email forward business. So I use that business card a lot. I'm going to hover my mouse over another person here, and I see that Ted has reshared something, which the reason I love this stuff is because I have a knowledge accident. And you want as many knowledge accidents as possible. So officially launched our new Lenovo partnership at a Business Get Social this week in Beijing. Lenovo will preload Connections Traveler at the same time on the V-Series Android tablets. I didn't know that. That's what I call a knowledge accident, right? So this is about sharing, and it's about sharing out in the open, and becomes very, very powerful in that concept. Okay? All right. Now, the other thing that we're going to talk about is, again, initiatives. So actually, let's go and see if Ted can help me here. Let's see if Ted can help me for a second. He doesn't know I'm pinging him, so we'll see. So let's talk about initiatives for 1 second. So Human Resources at IBM has this initiative called Blue Thanks. How do I thank other IBMers? So our strategy was to take this business initiative and weave it into every place the eyeballs are located. So one place, for example, so I guess he's not there. So let's flip over here to the browser for a second. I'm going to go to my IBM profile. This is our profile at IBM. And I'm going to come back to this, but what I want to show you again is if I come to the lower right-hand corner, you'll see the Blue Thanks widget on my profile. So there is a person in the directory called Blue Thanks. There's a community called Blue Thanks. Everywhere I go, there's this idea of Blue Thanks. I can give Blue Thanks to an application. When someone gives me a Blue Thanks, it writes it on my wall. How do you make your initiative more successful? You write it on the people platform, not the feature function platform. See the difference? I've never gotten a raise from a spreadsheet. I've always gotten a raise from a person. So this is an example of taking a business initiative and weaving it where the eyeballs are done. So just to go back here to the demo, if Ted and I were talking, I, from this point, can give him a Blue Thanks directly from the chat. If I say the word thanks or the word thank you, it will auto-suggest giving them a thank you word through the chat. All right? So again, this is an idea of taking a business initiative. How do I increase the success rate of this Blue Thanks Award program? Well, we're going to put it where the eyeballs are. We're going to lay it on this social business platform. And we're going to increase the adoption rate, make it more successful. You have to make it easy for them to do the right thing. There is a reason why those idiots that you work with put 25 attachments in an email and send it to you and you go over your mail quota. And then that one idiot says, thank you back with the attachment still involved. Because it's the easiest thing to do. Here, you need to make it the easiest thing for them to do. Okay? All right. All right, so that's an example of leveraging this. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go click on the search here. It's going to find all of the related activities that he and I work on. So any related thing we worked on, I can hit that show in the sidebar and it would take all the projects he and I are working on currently and put it right inside that sidebar. Everything I'm showing you is out of the box today. Except for the internal IBM customized stuff. Everything I'm showing you is directly out of the box. Okay. Now, for someone that travels as much as I do, phone access is huge. So I'm actually going to come over here. I'm going to click on my Same Time phone book. And I'm going to click on my already dedicated conference call. So it already starts my conference call, puts in my moderator password, and off I go. Right? So pre-call that, pre-call tons of information, and then if I wanted to, I have so let's say at 5 o'clock on an afternoon, I got to go pick up the kids, or at 3 o'clock, I got to pick them off the bus. So I literally can then transfer this particular call to my iPhone or my Android and take the phone call and transfer that off that situation. Now, I can drag and drop people's names onto this, and we can have a multi-person conference call with a zero conference call cost. If IBM did that once a week for 30 minutes, we would save over $7 million a year on our conference call costs. Because if you look at your conference call cost, the vast majority are between 2 and 3 people. Why? Because it's the easiest thing to do. Right? So this is the first thing we've done. It's the Same Time Unified Telephony. It's the first time I've ever seen the CIO's office say, yeah, everyone IBM's getting it. Just blanket statement by the CIO, everyone's getting it type situation. So that's a powerful situation, especially since I'm traveling all over the world. I can't use the hotel phone. I could, if I wanted to, I could literally make the hotel's telephone number a speakerphone in my room if I wanted to. This is a set of rules that fire. So if I walk away from my desk, then it will automatically, after 5 minutes of inactivity, will actually route any phone call directly to my cell phone, since I'm not in front of the soft phone anymore. I can set up rules that any phone call after 10 p.m. goes right to my voicemail. Or you could say, if my boss calls, automatically go to voicemail. How much would you pay for that? Okay. So that's some examples of how I use this. The other one that I do a lot is I do too much travel. So I'm able to actually leverage the live text inside of Notes heavily to help me with my travel. So if I'm going to fly on British Air 287, with one click, it takes the 287, passes the BA, and gives me my flight status. Automatically recognizes the BA situation. So I realize that I am in seat 35D on the Boeing 777-300. So I'm going to go to one of my sidebar apps. Everyone needs to get this one, called the seatguru.com. So I am on British Air, so let's go to British Airways, and then let's go to the 777-300 class, and let's see if that's a good seat. So I'm in 35D. 35D is right there next to the lavatory. And it's color-coded red, so obviously that does not mean it's a good seat. All right? So these are just examples of how I use this technology. I want to convert this to euros. It takes that data, passes it to an existing website, and converts it for me. And I get the status of what's going on here. So that means through live text, you can take anything, both inside and outside, and make it one click away. Right? So I want to drive the initiative for H1N1. Right? Where should employees go for their resource? I want them to have one click away, and it drives that particular initiative. So live text is a very, very powerful concept. You can take a lot of different actions. Again, it can drive initiatives. Right? If you've got a business initiative, if you recognize part numbers or sales numbers or people's names or whatever, can help drive the adoption rate of your business initiatives through live text. Okay. All right. The other text that I use is this idea of a custom plugin here that we're going to do. And you'll notice here that I've got this PeoplePad plugin. And this is going to show me through who's in the email. It generates a list of all the people that are there. And I can kind of hit the Analyze button, and that will take all the people on top of connections and generate a custom org chart of who those people are, and then it will show me time zone pane. Right? Because in an international company, it's important if I start scheduling things late or early, it doesn't really help. So it's a nice way to kind of ride on top of, this is like a Facebook app on top, or yeah, a Facebook app on top of Facebook, if you will. Okay. Now, I'm going to come over here to an email, and I've got on the side here, I've got my files. This has exploded. The social file sharing at IBM has exploded. Absolutely exploded within IBM. If we actually take a look at the number of files that we're sharing socially and multiply it by the size of the file, by how many downloads we've had, it's almost 6 petabytes of attachments we did not put through the email system. If you don't know what a petabyte is, ask the person to your right. As we say in Boston, it's wicked big. All right? And so having this sidebar app where I can just right-click on something and just drag and drop the link over here makes this very, very powerful to share. I can take an attachment inside of my email and drag and drop it over and upload it into that plugin on the right-hand side. I can right-click over here. You'll notice here that this is showing me that these things are not shared publicly. So I can right-click and share and change the sharing details to give people access control right from here. Right? Rather than having to go log into Connections and then go to the file and then change the access control, I can do it right from here. You can do the same thing in the new Windows File Manager also. Okay? I can also switch to my communities that I work with. There's files located there. Right? So this helps drive a lot of that functionality as to what we're doing here. Okay. So let me move on here. I'm going to go and talk about Connections for a second. And one of the things that we've done here, which has made this very, very powerful, this is my profile. It's a little bit customized. I have my own QR code. I have about 723 people in my network right now. And we have the report chain of who reports to whom, who are people's bosses, etc. My profile is basically coming from 18 different backend systems. I only changed 2 things on this. I changed my new cell phone number. As you can see here, that my office is home. You will also notice that right next to my name is how to pronounce my name. Because people go, is it Crummy? Or is it Crume? Like, I just don't want to call the guy Crummy if that's not how you pronounce his name. Right? So you can actually hear me pronounce my name, and for some of my colleagues, this is really important. So the point of the matter is that I didn't have to fill out anything. And this is what separates us from any other profile in the market, is that we have a dedicated engine whose job it is to maintain this and control this. So we actually ship a profile engine. Technically, it's the Tivoli Directory Manager integrator that comes with this. Unbelievable tool. Unbelievable tool. So the power of that is it maintains the profile. So a lot of people realize that if you're a portal customer, you are entitled to profiles and files out of the box. If you are a notes customer, you are entitled to profiles and files out of the box. You're entitled to it. So that means you have it for free, which means you should be deploying it. Okay? So this has been huge because this provides very much of a cornerstone of who you are and what you're doing in this situation. Now, the other thing we start to notice is that people are using microblogging within IBM for a couple reasons, right? So here's my latest microblog is that we just announced this plugin for Windows, and here it is. You go get it. And there's been 21 comments on here. Everyone diving in and things of that nature. So what we find is people are not just microblogging on their wall, but they're microblogging on other people's wall. Why are they doing that? Why would you go and ask a question on someone else's wall? Why would you do that?
Transparency.
Transparency, yeah.
Openness.
Openness.
Dialogue, learning, collaboration, knowledge sharing.
But do I wind you up at the back? Is there like a little, right? But there's a more fundamental reason that they're doing this.
It's fun.
It's fun, very good. Okay. You start with an email, and you say, asking for help, and you go to the to field, you're like, oh my God, I have no idea who to put that to. I have no idea who to send this thing. So what do? You do internal spam. You start emailing everyone you know. Excuse me one second. I need the mic, right? Yeah, okay. My wife refers to my voice as the Irish whisper, so I don't want to be yelling. But here's the situation. They put the question on my wall, hoping I have the answer, but more importantly, they're wondering if they have the answer. So they're leveraging my network of people. Chris might know, he might not know, but I bet someone in his network knows. So what they're doing is they're leveraging my network to get their answer. They're leveraging this crowd. Does that make sense? Right? So it's just a different way of behaving, a different way of working that makes it so powerful. So let's go back and talk about these things. So being engaged. Are you listening? There's a reason why you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Transparency. This is probably the most uncomfortable part of this because you're going to have to make mistakes out in the open. There are customers that give the Golden Cow Award for the biggest and best idea that failed the hardest. Think about the culture of 3M and their innovation. It's about sifting through the mistakes to find out what you're doing. There's going to be mistakes, right? So how do customers deal with this transparency? When one customer built a community in their pilot called Zombie Attack. What would you do if the zombies attacked the store? And they had this unbelievable response because there was no right or wrong answer, right? So being transparent is huge. Being nimble, being able to react quickly to these things. So let's talk a little bit about here. These are my 4 or 5 anti-transparency issues. These are the 5 things that hold me back and hold a lot of customers back from being transparent. Okay? Now raise your hand if you feel this is where you are. You have silos in your company. This is part therapy, so you have to be honest with yourself. I wanted to get couches to lay on, and I would repeat back, how does that make you feel all day long? Okay, how many people have dedicated org charts, and you have hierarchy that you go up? I call this the I don't care chain. Because you send it up the I don't care chain, and it comes back down the I don't care chain. The taxonomy. Everyone loves taxonomies because you organize the product by their new names. Well, guess what? Customers don't buy products, they buy solutions. Okay? And then we have our wonderful email. Doesn't matter if you have Outlook, doesn't matter if you have Gmail, doesn't matter if you have Lotus Notes. Okay? I am not a big fan of email. It is the most anti-social tool. When I leave IBM, what do they do to my mailbox? Snip. They cut it. So who gets value from that? Just me. Just me. Very social. Very. And then attachments. Love attachments. People like to play with them in their pocket because they sound like change. Right? It's awful. It's awful. And this is where something like the storage of files is huge. Let's say, for example, this is where SharePoint would be. 75% of the usage of SharePoint is for an F drive type model where you're going to put a lot of attachments. That's a huge part of this. Anyone read the latest Microsoft announcement on their SharePoint deployment internally? Can anyone guess the number of SharePoint sites that are deployed within Microsoft? You guys realize this is interactive, right? You have to participate. Right, the questions I ask are, I used to be a school teacher, so you have to participate.
500,000.
500,000. 100,000.
Million?
770,000 sites. No wonder they created Bing. Listen, I'm not trying to bash Microsoft. I think Microsoft is huge. I am very much of a non-religious person about this stuff, but this is the major reason why a lot of our customers who are big SharePoint customers have leveraged connections to be successful. Because SharePoint, not to beat up SharePoint, it is what it is. It's very silo-based, it's very department-based. It's not an enterprise-wide type situation. I'm not trying to beat it up, I'm just trying to say that there's reasons why they've chosen to go with our technology on top of SharePoint. That's my whole point here, okay? So that's what they've done. They put a social platform. Notice I don't call it a product on purpose. It's not a product, it's a platform. This is where you're going to ride your initiatives, your business, okay? So here's the 5 kind of new things that have started to come out on this that is the opposite of what it is below. So let's talk a little bit over about here. Part of the issue around all the attachments and email and things of that nature is the fact that I am actually 10 times more valuable to IBM when I share than when I hoard. Because guess what I get? I get a digital reputation. I cannot get a digital reputation in email. I can get CLMs, which are career-limiting moves, but I can't get a digital reputation. You'll get that joke when you go home. You will notice that there's a movement away from the traditional email model and the traditional static web model to that of the conversation. There was a conversation on my wall about the new plugin, and there's 21 responses. Google is now officially indexing all conversations on the web because there's such powerful, valuable stuff that's out there. They feel that that is what's going on. So to provide conversation is huge. An email is not a conversation. Okay? Notice the exact match of the folksonomy to the taxonomy. So what's going on with this folksonomy that I can't get from a taxonomy? What's hot? What's happening? What are people talking about? What are people sharing? I just spent $1 million and my product isn't there. What does that tell me? No one's talking about it, and you want to be talked about. This is when you want to be talked about. Does that make sense what you're seeing? Right? So this is different. Then the change from the org chart to a networked situation is you're flattening the organization. This is the fundamental, single, common thing I've seen across all of the success stories for being a social business is they realize the traditional org chart is not working. The traditional command and control model is not working. We need a faster, more nimble behavior. Continental over in Germany calls it the network behavior. It's a different way of working. This is what I mean by cultural aspects of stuff. Right? And then organic. This is this idea of organically sharing information. When I go to CNN and look at a news article, there's a share button on there. It's easy for me, right? Back to my model of make it easy for me to do things. With one click, I can share it. But what am I doing that CNN loves when I hit that share button? There's a tactical thing that I do for them, and there's a strategic thing that I do for them. What am I doing?
Driving readers. Driving readers to their site.
Driving readers, so I drive the Google stats. That's the tactical part of this stuff. But more importantly, I gave it a value. I just socially separated that article from everything else that's there, and I literally lifted it up and go, here it is. If I sit on my hands, I mumble. So this is going to be difficult. Okay, does that make sense? So when you share something, you give it a social value. You just separate that from everything else that's out there. So let's talk about what I call the 10 business values for social business. All right? So we just moved all that down lower, and let's focus on that. So one is this idea of wisdom of the crowds. How do I leverage the larger outside or inside to get a feel for what's happening? So we actually have a community on the outside that is allowing us to do this. We have this retained knowledge, which is keeping the knowledge inside the company. So I'm going to talk about that in a different story. A digital reputation. So here's a guy called Colonel Collaboration. He's a retired Army officer, and his digital reputation is called Colonel Collaboration. Do you know why I require every one of my teammates to have a digital reputation as their manager? Do you know how much easier it is for me as a manager to get you your next job when people already know about you, when you already have it? If I have to spend my 1 hour with your new boss, starting from scratch, selling you from ground zero, it's much more difficult. But if you've already got your own digital reputation, it makes it more powerful. Does that make sense what I mean by that? So as an HR manager, I use this as a very, very powerful tool. Think about it when you change your job. So part of my requirement is, you'd like to be like the vice president? Then you follow them in the network. So you understand what communities they belong to. So you understand what they're doing. You understand the nomenclature of what's going on. So you can have a career path this way. Right? You change your jobs, who you know and what you know doesn't matter anymore. So this is very, very powerful to get up to speed faster. So there's a lot of really, really powerful HR type job, career stuff that's involved with this capability. Flat and fast equals speed. You locate experts, create virtual teams, and understanding that good ideas come linked together. That it's not all of a sudden just a magic idea that shows up. You have to link them together. Organic sharing is very powerful, analytics, and then understanding your tippers. So one of the things that I do is in my workshops is I ask you to think about who in your company could help tip what you're trying to do in the right direction. Okay? How can they help tip? So let me give you an example of what I mean by this. So I'm going to come out to Firefox. I'm going to go to My Files. This is where this organic sharing happens within IBM. So here is an iPad, iPhone. It has over 1,000 downloads, 16 comments. I'm just going to go inside this file here. I'm going to go to the sharing area, and I'm going to look and see who is shared. Okay? So this is this idea of organic sharing. So I started with my tippers. So in my brain, I said, who can help me get this farther and faster than I would in email? These are the people I consider to be influencers. So understanding who the influencers are in your company. Does that make sense? Anyone read the book, The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell? If you haven't read The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, highly recommend reading that book. Okay? Really, really important book. So in my brain, I said, okay, these are my tippers, and then Chris shared it with Simon, and then this guy shared with that guy, and it just organically grew. Do you know how many emails I'd have to send to get this from 0 to 1,000 downloads? It's a lot. So I'm leveraging the network, and they share to get more value. I made everyone here my salespeople. I made these people my salespeople to get this farther and faster than nutrition model. So I can find out who's downloaded it. I can find out if you downloaded the older version or the newer version. Right? So which version of this did you download? So if I can come down here and hover my mouse to see this guy, he's actually downloaded the most recent version of the file. When I upload the next version, all 1,000 people get notified your version's up. It handles the tactical things. I am not in the email forward business. Right? Okay? All right, so that's what I mean by this organic capability. Next is you are aligned with business initiatives. Do you guys know we run our mergers and acquisitions? We run our mergers and acquisitions on this platform. So we have major initiatives that we're running on this, right? Apple forums, all of our Smarter Planet stuff, the IBM open computing strategy, Lotus Nodes and Evangelists, that's my community. Chris, I need 400 evangelists, go. Blue Thanks Award, all sorts of stuff, right? So then you'll see customers actually deploy it in their own situation. So the Dutch tax office calls it Connect People, CEMEX calls it Shift, the Royal Bank of Scotland calls it Connections, Asian Paints calls it Huddle. So they actually launched their new way of working, this new social behavior with a marketing brand campaign. Some put it inside of their portal, some launched their own campaign. All right? And then you get some of the most powerful aspects of this. I call this the psychology layer. One is when you are transparent, you build what? Trust. You build trust. Pride. I hear this word over and over and over. When you engage the employees in a decision-making process, you actually drive pride in the company. How much money would you buy that with? It's unbelievable. Empowerment. This is the feedback I'm getting. I feel empowered to actually drive my own initiatives. Engaged. Attract talent. I'm telling you right now, you're going to go, hey, you want to work for me? You want to work for this company? Guess what we got? We got email. We need that. Right? You are not going to keep good talent if that is your focus. Okay? And then the last one is something I already mentioned here is feeling valued. All right. So let's start here for a second and realize that there is a generational and cultural challenge that goes on. So the traditional inbox is moving more towards an activity stream and wall. You have this idea of a corporate hierarchy to a virtual organization, documents to kind of the people world, static to conversation, mobile to which stands for social, location, mobility, etc. So there's major changes that go on. Now my wife is the youngest of 12 children. Yes, good job. Irish Catholic family from Boston. Very good. So I have 30 nieces and nephews just on my wife's side. And they say, Uncle Chris, email is for old people. I went, whoa. But I have a shiny Mac. Does that make up for that, right? So let's talk a little bit about this understanding the generational concepts here. How many people here have children with a cell phone? When's the last time you got an email from them?
Yes, sir.
We got one over here. I would not call that a landslide. Okay? So understand there's a very, very different behavior that goes on. Now, I'd like everyone to reach up virtually, press the doorbell right now. Reach up right now, participate please. Reach, yep, go ahead, you have to participate. Ring the doorbell, please. It doesn't hurt, it's free. Okay, good. All right, how many people did with their index finger? Raise your hand. How many people do with their thumb? One. Ask your children. Two. Okay, two. Your parents ever leave you in an airport? You feel like you're left out. Okay, two. Do this with your children with a cell phone, and they all use their thumb. Why? Because they text with this. This is their device. This is what they do with their thumbs. It's now part of their DNA behavior is to use their thumb versus their index finger. Right? I mean, you think about your children, they have no idea the relationship between a pencil and a cassette tape, do they? They have no idea the relationship between the two. See, the younger people don't even get that. Okay. So there's a cultural change that goes on. So one example is Lowe's, which is this home improvement store, which actually has a model called Work Out Loud. I can't afford to only deploy to one store at a time. I need to deploy it to multiple stores and have the other stores learn from it while I deploy to these stores. out in the open. So they're going to plan out loud, test out loud, deploy out loud. So it's a different way of thinking. We do it outside. Everyone should be joining this community, which is the Connections idea on Greenhouse, and this is where people are voting on features. So now certain features are being graduated and taken off, right? So the community calendar, things of that nature, right? Here's a great example of a bank. You don't realize how powerful this is until you do this. So one example was TD Bank in Canada was going to have, should we go from 6 days a week banking to 7 days a week banking? Open on Sundays, right? Should we do this? How is that decision process normally made? It's made in a room. I usually call it the ivory tower with some executives. The decisions are made, and then it's like, now execute, right? That's how the decisions get made normally? Yes? Most times? Right? They flipped it upside down and made it a social. It's about socializing their existing behaviors. So what they decided to do was have a very transparent, open decision-making model using IBM Connections as the platform to do this. And a lot of people jumped in. What flushed out was who are the tippers and who are the influencers, but the most important one was it shifted to pride. Those are the employees' words. Pride. Pride. Unbelievable. Their new mobile interface for the bank was deployed and crowdsourced to the employees first before it came to the customer. So it was perfected before. Deployed out loud. Then they had this idea of suggestion box. And the problem with suggestion box is it's one little drip inside there. It doesn't give it a lot more than that. So what they're going to do is actually, the idea wasn't a new idea, but when they made the suggestion box social, it amplified. Now these are her quotes. This is Wendy's quotes here. Until social amplified it, there was no business case. All right? So these are some examples of how people are doing this. So when you look at social, realize that there's kind of 5 levels that go on here. Why the end users want it, why HR managers want it, why line of business wants it, why executives like it, and why the company likes it. You got to consider all of those. Why do I like it? Well, it gives me my time back. That's why I like it, right? Proud to be a TDer. They're proud to be part of this company. This is the feedback they got after they deployed Connections internally at there. Big SharePoint shop. Distinguish us from the other financial institutions. They look at this as a game changer. Have saved me 20 phone calls and emails. Productivity enhancement. Hyper-efficient communications. Those are their feedback after the pilot deployment at TD Bank. Huge. Digital reputation. Onboarding processes. Running your line of business initiatives on top of this. There are so many line of business initiatives at IBM that are running this, it's unbelievable. On our first day, our new CEO leverages Connections. She created her own community, create her own video blog as to how to communicate. Went viral. Her video blog went viral. I don't like viral. Went organic through IBM. And now you'll notice that the official communication channel for executives is through the social platform. I do not get emails from the executives. I get them from their community. It is their official communication channel. And then why does the company like it? So, a good friend of mine, Carol Jones, she's an IBM fellow. That's the kind of highest level of distinction you get at IBM. She also has a title of e-goddess, which is a more difficult title to get. She was handpicked by the Nobel laureates in Stockholm, Sweden, a couple of years ago to fly to Stockholm to speak to the Nobel laureates about this thing called social and Web 2.0 and all that type of stuff. So she's probably top 5 in the world on this topic. Top 5. I get to see everything she thought was important. She was my personal Google. I would follow her. She had 12,000 followers at IBM. So I would follow what she was doing. The other day I did a search and some of her stuff came up and I hovered my mouse over her business card. It says this person is no longer an active user. She had retired. But everything she's ever shared is still available to me. This is why IBM likes this. Okay? So I get to keep that knowledge. CEO is leveraging the microblogging as a thank you process. Public thank yous. So there is our new CEO, and she is basically leveraging the microblogging to thank all of the 100% Club people within IBM. She's driving that through the microblogging on their wall so everyone sees it. And it's an interesting model. We actually built a custom widget for her so that she can kind of cookie cut those things for all 500 employees. It's an interesting way of driving that. Okay. So I'm going to finish the demo here with some things. How much time do I have? I have 30 minutes? Is that what it is? 29? Thank you. That helps. I now know what to cut out. Okay. So we have the files here. I'm going to come over here to one of my communities that I have created. Part of my charter is to run competitive. So this is my community here. I have about 2,200 people in there. I have 22 different sub-communities. So all in the middle are all the different competitors that we keep a track on, we follow, we share, etc. So when I get a question that says, hey, what about this? I go, I'll answer your question in the forum. I will not answer it in the email because that is a very selfish way of doing this. I want everyone to learn from my questions. Does that make sense? It's a little bit of a behavior difference. If someone's going to ask me more than once, I share it. Saves me a lot of time. Do you know how difficult it is to try and share a 35 meg presentation when you're in Poland on their infrastructure? Right? Now, you'll notice on the right-hand side we have the media gallery. This is 12 videos. Right? My good friend Reinhard over here is on my team. He's an expert on mobile competitive. He's got one of his videos on here. And I'm like, you know what? I need to close that loop. I want more people to see these competitive videos. So we integrated with iTunes. So with one button, I click on the iTunes button here. That will literally fire up iTunes and literally make my community's media library a podcast directly to iTunes so I can see it offline. I can leverage my iPad. I can leverage my iPhone. People listen to it. They're going for a run. They listen to it on the airplane. Does that make sense? That's how we use it within IBM. Okay? All right. Now, if I go into, let's say I go into one of these sub-communities that's dedicated, this is Salesforce Chatter here, you'll notice that built into the sub-community is a set of information to make it really easy for the people to understand. So right in the header here is ask a question in the forum. All of the files you need to get up to speed is one button download, and then we've organized the tagging so that you can find out who all the experts are. So if I click on who are the experts, it's going to go to everyone's profile, it's going to generate a list, and it's going to show me all the people, all 11 of us who are considered experts on this topic. I want it stupid, simple. There's a reason why we only have 5 sales plans, because salespeople only have 5 fingers. Okay? Salespeople are not the brightest people in the world. So I want you notice the colors? Like pretty buttons? It's because I'm dealing with salespeople here. Okay? Now, I hate email like the next person. So this is a wiki page that is organizing my 3-week trip here to Europe. I'm dealing with 9 salespeople. I'm dealing with different country managers. I'm dealing with multiple different events and things that I'm doing. How many emails do you think that's going to take up? So I created a wiki page here so they realize when the meeting is, when the dinner is, when I'm leaving on the train, when I'm flying to so you can't book something here because I'm here. Make sense? So I created a wiki page. This is the only way I do it. I publicly publish my calendar this way so that others can fill it out and I don't have to deal with it. That makes sense? I get notified when the change is made. Right, so that's how I use that concept. Here's an example of the video blog from our CEO. This is her Think Together video blog that she has. So she's been using this quite often. So she's got 734 comments on this right here. Just love the fact that she's very much involved in the social platform to get her job done. And then here's an example of the software IBM software community. So this is all the different events that we have going on that people need to be aware of, the forums, etc., all this information. That's 53,000 employees in one community. This is their communication channel. Right? This is how they communicate to what's going on. All right. So that's pretty much how we use this within IBM. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over quickly to the mobile here. And I'm going to show you how I do all this stuff from a mobile device. That, this, that. Let's turn on that one. Turn on the VPN connection. This is the new iPad 3. It's awesome. Someone needs a nap. Someone needs a nap. Okay, so this is the iPad 3. This is what I use. I have a Notes F1 to do. So this is actually a paid app that allows you to manage your to-dos off of this. I've got the Companion, Wildfire, Cognos, Connections, Same Time, Data, Same Time Meeting, Polycom Video, some research stuff, Symphony, our portal, some portal technologies, some Xpages stuff, and then the Team Studio Unplugged to take these things offline. Okay? So let's walk through how I use this technology. Microphone challenged. Okay. So I'm going to come into my mailbox here, and you'll notice that I've got emails, etc. You'll notice there's 2 emails there that I flagged as follow-up, and those flags are coming through on the iPad. I can come down here to an email that is encrypted and leverage the Companion app to actually decrypt that particular message. And then I also have my daily newsletter. So one of the strategies is to make sure that you follow people and you follow files and you follow things that are important to you. And this is probably one of my greatest aha moments where I have the knowledge accidents, is seeing the changes come to me. So I don't have to be online looking at it all the time. Okay? So if I were to actually open up a presentation here, I can actually use the Symphony viewer to view it, or I could fire it into Connections. So it's literally taking the file out of my email, and it's uploading it from my email directly into Sugar.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, so I'm going to go our second crash. All right, good. So imagine it's already posted up there. Not sure what's going on here. So the iPad interface has all the different particular services in there. I can update and leverage the actual camera on this device. If I wanted to update my photograph, my corporate photograph, I can use the camera on this device to do so. Right? Updating multimedia files, things of that nature, take photographs from here, put it into a community of interest, etc. Okay? Now, I can overcome here. I'm going to sit on the same time. So I'm going to fire into the same time point, do the traditional stuff that we've got, the chat, all that capability. Now you'll notice that my status was away. That saves so much on the battery. So what ends up happening is, hold on. is changing that status works on the, or it saves so much on the battery. So when I switch, it becomes active, and therefore then that's when I'm pinging all the time. Right, get that status update. So here I can actually have a conversation with myself, right? Go back and forth. You can see that I'm typing here. I can come in here and actually put emoticons in and send that if I wanted to. I can even use photographs and video. Right? Okay. Now, the other thing that I can do here also, if I wanted to, is maybe this conversation needs to take a different level. So I can actually hit the call button. And that call button will call my dedicated phone. So I'm using the same time unified telephony. And I'll actually call my phone and then call that particular person. So I can literally initiate the same time unified telephony call directly from the iPad. Okay. All right. Next is the same time meetings. So I can actually come into the same time meetings here, type in my password for the meeting, go to the library, share a particular file. This is in beta right now, and I can use the gestures on the iPad to drive the interface and the aspects of this. I can come to the discussion threads and see the different things that have been added here. I can add minutes, action items, questions, things in that order. I can even grab the meeting information that's here and actually share that, copy that into an email or some other function and send it to someone if they wanted to join the meeting type situation. Now, if I wanted to involve video, I can actually use the Polycom video interface. So I can literally initiate and call that particular same time meeting and see the video. So you would see me inside of the same time meeting, and I would be using this device to so I can leverage that capability. Now, let's quickly go over here and fire into our portal. Okay? So this is one of the aspects of driving this social capability, is understanding how to generate it horizontally across what we're doing. So as I log into our portal here, what you'll notice is that we have different tabs across the top: home, search, sales, local, social, and mail. And this is actually our WebSphere portal, our W3 internally at IBM, generated to the iPad. And it leverages the GPS location of my iPad to generate the local tab and show me where the nearest IBM office is, where the local weather is, all that information directly from the iPad. So I can come in here, look at the connect and share. I can access all of my network, my files, my communities, activities directly from within inside of the iPad. So we generate the whole interface through the portal. Now, we also are taking one step further for the portal technology, because it allows us to actually have responsive design to the user experience. This is an example here of leveraging the auto rotation of my iPad to dynamically change the whole user experience. It's not working. Oh, it helps if you turn on your VPN. Actually, a screenshot I can show you this. All right, then we've got the X pages. This is an example of the new team room. This is what I want. But here's the good news. I actually have things to do unplugged. I can't get on the wireless, I'm actually going to interface with that same app disconnected. Okay, I'll try that again. Just so you heard me. They have a session today at 4 o'clock, Team Studio, on this topic of unplugged. So I'm able to interface directly through this Xpages application, Domino application, while I am disconnected. I'm going to respond to documents. I can participate in this without being connected, and this is the case right now. I did not do that on purpose, but it's really echoing my point here of not being on the wireless. Okay? Right? So you can take a lot of your Domino applications, all of them if need be, and actually unplug them and make them disconnected and participate with them on the different mobile devices. So their session is 4 o'clock today. All right, so that is stopping my mobile interface here. I apologize for the Wi-Fi issue. Let's finish the presentation and talk about some of the announcements that we made. So we have the announcement of the IBM Connections Next, the Connections Mail, which is called Social Mail, IBM Docs, the Social Content Management, which is the integration between FileNet and IBM Content Manager and our social platform, the Accessible Web Experience, and the Lotus Notes Social Edition, which is the next version of the Notes Rich client. It doesn't like to be called the fat client, so you can call it the thick bone client if you want. Okay. So the embedded, one of the biggest things that we're doing across the board is this idea of embedded experiences. So we're leveraging the open social gadget technology to provide the embedded experiences across the Rich Notes client, the iNotes client, the browser, the connections. So the Connections version 4 is an open social container. We'll talk about what that means. This is really, really nice user experience that's going on. We're going to do a little demo there. The social mail, the IBM Connections mail, is both an exchange and Lotus Notes situation, so that while I'm inside of the user experience, I have access to my mail and my calendar. Let me show that now. Okay. IBM Docs will be part of IBM Connections, so that you can use this in that situation. We'll show that also. Here's an example of the Lotus Notes Social Edition. So you'll notice this idea of the activity stream. We'll talk about how we're changing our strategy around an activity stream. Today's activity stream is just social data. You look at Facebook, you look at Twitter, the only thing in there is human-created social data. Our strategy is to take that stream and make it a business stream. Include applications, include workflow, include different things besides the social data. Okay? Again, also supporting this embedded experience model in the Rich one. All right, so let's test the Wi-Fi here again and see what we can get. So I'm going to show you a quick demo of the next version of iNotes. Okay. So a couple things. First is you'll notice that I have a widget on the right here. I have that same Mobile Seat Guru. Bear with me. Like you guys have never crashed in the demo. Come on. Okay. So I have the same exact plugin I had in my Rich client. I literally just imported it into this one and reused that same one earlier, right? So in the widgets, you can actually browse the widget catalog. This is also an Xpages application, and actually just drag and drop them into the sidebar and participate. So you do the same thing you do in the Rich client as you do there. Now, if I were to go and, let's say, open up this particular email, you'll notice a couple things. One is I've got some attachments down here, and if I click on the View Attachment, that's actually going to leverage the IBM Docs technology to allow me to view the attachment in this situation. So it's going to fire up IBM Docs, it's going to allow me to view that file and take me over to that situation. Okay? while that is running. The other thing I'm going to do is actually take this particular document that I've got here, and I'm going to share it. So I'm going to take the attachment out of my mailbox, and I'm going to push it to the Files engine in Connections. And I want it to replace it with a link. So watch what happens when I say yes. Right? So it's actually taking the file from within inside of here, it's going to move it to the social platform and replace it with a link, and you can see that I've already done that once before over here. So let's go back over here, that's not running. Okay. Not sure what's going on here. All right. Well, what would end up happening is that same file will actually be moved directly, we'll swap it out and drop in that link into the email so that I have a version of it there and not inside my mail file. Right? This also has the same concept of the embedded experiences. So embedded experiences on the inside, embedded experiences on the outside is involved here, right? Make sure. Why is that? Something's not beginning.
No, I lost it too.
You lost it too?
Yeah.
It's not helpful. Huh? Probably the hotel one. Okay. Thanks. Go. Yeah. What? I'm in. Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh darn it. Sorry guys, not sure what's going on here.
All right.
All right, we're gonna have to, hold on. That's part of my problem. There we go. Okay. Okay. Don't clap yet. You're gonna. Okay, here we go. We're back in business. Okay, so what am I looking at? I'm looking at email, and inside of this is actually an embedded survey form that's here. Click on this one. This is actually an embedded Lombardi workflow capability that's dropped in here. So I can participate, approve, without ever leaving what I'm doing here. Same thing for something like a UPS. So it's not just the internal stuff, it's also can be external stuff that can participate in this model. So this is an example of embedded experiences. It's going to work across mobile. It's going to work across the browser, connections, email, notes, iNotes, across all those things. This idea of embedded experiences. Okay? So let's go take a quick look at our next version of Connections. Connections version 4. Okay? So this is connections 4, and I'm going to go to this idea of this activity stream. What we're going to get here is a business stream. So this is where your SAP workflow will be done. This is where your business partner solutions notifications will be done. This is where your different concepts will be dropped into this activity stream and it turns into a business stream. Okay? Now, so what am I working on right now? I'm going to working on a new strategy for our So I'm going to post that I'm working on the new microfinance strategy for what we're doing. I'm going to click on the updates here, and I will notice that my particular microblog has shown up. And now you'll notice that my hashtag is active. So I can now click on that particular situation. It will now search the entire social platform for the hashtag. This thing is killing me. So it's finding all the profiles and experts. It's finding all the communities that have anything to do with microfinancing. So I can leverage hashtags within this situation. You'll also notice that if I hover my mouse over my mail, I'll actually get my real IBM mail that's going on here. So this is actually participating in the email here. And I'm actually going to open up Reinout's email. Hopefully it's not misbehaving here. So this is actually allowing me to reply, delete, etc. Again, this will work with Exchange or with Lotus Notes. So I got his picture here, I got his information, I can see that he wrote on my board, etc. type situation. Same thing happens with the calendar. Now, if I go over here to my communities, I can actually come to that particular microfinance community that I saw before, and I'll actually have a couple of nice integration points. One is the calendar. So I'm able to actually have a group or a project calendar. This overlay works in both Lotus Notes and in Outlook, so I can subscribe to this particular calendar if I want. I also have this idea of related communities. So I can relate one community to the other type situation. And then if I go to the recent updates, we actually have an activity stream for the community itself. This is actually something that you actually saw on the iPad first before you saw it here. So there's something that's called mobile first, where you will see technology inside the mobile before you actually see the browser version if you want. So this is an example here of that particular microfinancing wall here. Now, if I click on that particular item, you will notice this idea of embedded experiences. Let's see. Let's change this one. So when I click on this, it will actually go out to that app, bring back all the things that I'm allowed to use or participate in that situation. So I could like this particular concept, I could share it, I could do different aspects to it through this user experience. So it's taking just enough rights that I have to that app, and it's showing me in here to participate. There we go. So I'm going to like it. I can comment, do different aspects to this. So I'm never leaving what I'm doing. This same concept happens in email, in notes, in the browser, in the mobile device. You'll have this idea of this embedded experience. Okay, a couple more things. We also announced this idea of the Lotus Notes browser plugin for Windows. Okay? If you like it, I had something to do with it. I have nothing to do with it. I just wanted to plus. So what we've technically done is we've literally stripped everything from the Notes client down to just what you need as a heavy plugin for the browser for Windows. and allows you to basically run Notes applications unmodified only in a browser. Very, very powerful concept to take advantage of that. Okay? All right. I'm going to finish on one concept here, and that's this idea of the social every place. So it's not just the technology we're talking about. We have this integration of the core, the desktop tools, the mobile capabilities, and then other applications that we're involved with. So we've got the status update on the right. I'm a big user of Wildfire because that allows me to update Twitter and LinkedIn and Greenhouse and DeveloperWorks and IB and Attorney all at once. It's like a multi-headed microblogging client. The file engine, the activities, these are all things that are driving the situation. Here's an example of what we're doing for Outlook. Right? So we're leveraging the social connector inside of Outlook. So when you click on an email here, you actually can participate, and it grabs my LinkedIn and my social data all together from Connections. You'll notice the really nice same time integration. When I particularly click on an email, I get that social capability that's over there. We're also in works with a really nice file plugin on the sidebar for Outlook. That will be later this year. But you'll be able to do a lot of the same things you saw me do with our Notes version, but for Outlook. Okay? Social business card. It automatically will start downloading all of that 722 people you saw in my network. Automatically adds them all to my Outlook UI. Here's an example of that calendar in Connections 4 being overlaid on the Outlook and Lotus Notes calendar. Okay. Here's an example of that File Explorer situation. So I can actually see the different files, who shared it with me, shared by me, all this type of stuff. I can right-click, drag and drop, and take comments and participate very nicely. So that means we make every single Microsoft investment that you have, and we make it a client to our social strategy. Right? This is not a religious discussion. This is about leveraging your investment on things type situation. Okay? Here's an example of our Cognos technology. So I look at this particular situation. I'm looking at our customer satisfaction reports and sales by customer and processing by complaints. And I need to put a virtual team together. I need to do something with this information that I've got. So I'm going to click on Start an Activity, and literally it will show me my social activities that are dealing with these particular Cognos reports. It automatically takes the Cognos report and puts a link into it automatically inside of here. Right? So I'm wrapping social around the dashboard that I'm getting. Okay? This is the social business card inside of SharePoint. So notice I have same time awareness. I've got the social business card inside of SharePoint. We've even modified the business card so that if you wanted to, you can click on the My Site, and it will actually take the unique ID of you and put you into the SharePoint My Site if you wanted to. So that business card is customizable. And that business card can go anywhere there's a name. It takes 2 lines of JavaScript code to put that business card anywhere there's a name. Right? So any legacy app you have, you can drop that particular business card in there. Here's an example of kind of socializing the application of the portal. So I'm here having this portal that has employee compensation. So everything kind of below this is all traditional portal technology. And what we've done is we've injected on the right-hand side all of the social data. So I'm a brand new employee. I have to deal with the compensation. I now see the automatic community notification. I can see the files that match that. I can kind of go down a little bit lower and see all the experts that are dealt with automatically. So you're injecting social into your traditional portal application. Okay? I come over here. Here's the most recent analysis of the employees. And again, everywhere there's a name, I have a business card. So I hover my mouse over that, I get my social business card, and then it will, because I clicked on this particular name, it went to the social platform and injected all of my files in context to clicking inside of that. So this is coming from a relational database, and we're putting this kind of social lipstick on the bulldog, if you will. Okay? I hope someone retweets that one. All right. So we actually have a business partner, Portico, that allows me to actually take it one step further because they generate a social injection strategy around JSR 286. Just when I got used to JSR 186, it went to 168, it went to 286. All right? All the Webster people get that. All right. SharePoint, Open Social. So that means I can drop connections into LifeRay, into SharePoint, into lots of different things, right? So you're not just limited to the IBM platform to put these things. And the same thing with our Portlet Factory technology, allows you to include that in a lot of different places. So here's an example of how I use it within IBM. So one of the things that we're doing is we're generating an app store model within IBM. So we used to do this ISSI stuff where it would install stuff on your desktop, and we're kind of going to an Apple strategy through an app store situation. So here's that connectors thing we talked about in our strategy here before we actually shipped it. And what you'll notice is there's a share button. And when I click on that share button, it allows me to take that information and it will put it onto my wall. It also will allow me to give that app a Blue Thanks Award. Okay? So when I do that, it now literally makes it really easy for me to do the right thing. It's going to leverage that organic sharing. I'm going to give it a value, and boom, right there, it just got posted to my wall. Then when I look at it, I can start to see that there's 9 more comments. So all of a sudden, a lot of people started to get on top of this. And then it started to grow and grow and grow, and I had like 30 comments on this particular thing, right? So very, very powerful. Last part before I finish is some of the social mobile technologies. Our strategy is to support the different devices, so the Android tablets, the iOS stuff, even the new Windows technologies, something we're going to start supporting. I'm also leveraging the iOS 5 technology. So for example, in iOS 5, I have this kind of notification center. So when I swipe it down, I can actually see some of the notifications coming from things like Synca. I can see information like I have a chat that's waiting for me to participate. And then actually leveraging Siri to talk to. So I use Siri when I'm in the car to send emails. So I actually did the demonstration like this. I said, send email to my boss. It knows who my boss is. Right? To my wife. Yeah. Pretty good. So he got during Lotusphere, he got about 15 of these emails saying, I'm asking for a raise. And it was all part of the Siri demo. So I can leverage that capability. We also have some of the Android. So this is the Android HTC tablet, really nice device. And I've got the widgets that are participating in this, the user experience for email and calendar. And then actually what you'll notice on this particular tablet is the same time awareness native inside the email. So this is actually the Android tablet running Traveler and same time at the same time. And I'm getting a very nice user experience here. So our strategy is to support all the major devices plus across the different services. The meetings, the email, the social, etc. And then you'll see a lot more of the cross-product integration. So we saw some of it when I tried to share the file, but you'll see a lot more of that as we go along. So here's the example of this reactive design portal. So as I change the iPad here, and then I flip it this way, it automatically changes the user experience to fit perfectly within the user experience. And that same one is done through the iPhone. So it recognizes the signature of what device is being asked, and it hides the photographs because of the real estate. So it picks up which device, plus it changes the user experience. All right, last 2 slides and I'm done. So as we go along, I honestly believe, I think we're doing a phenomenal job of accessing the infrastructure through mobile capabilities. If I showed you at IBM the adoption rate of our social at IBM, there's actually one dip, and then there's one major spike. And the dip is when the office, the CIO, turned off access to connections via the Notes client for testing. And so we didn't realize how much we interfaced it through our Notes sidebar and other actions through our Notes client. Then the spike is when we released the iPad version of Connections for IBM. So if you don't think the social every place strategy is not a success factor, you're wrong. Having it where I do my job is super important. Having to leave what I'm doing to go do something else will decrease the adoption rate. Okay? So you'll notice that we'll have this idea of the activity stream, etc. But what we've done is actually increase the user experience to that of kind of who has Flipboard, right? So Flipboard is what we call a magazine-style interface. So imagine Connections meeting Flipboard, and that's the kind of tablet interface that we'll start to have. So I can slide my finger over these things. I'll have this actual physical look of a page folding over and swiping through these particular things. Okay, that's it. Listen, thank you very much for your time. It's the most valuable thing you can give to another human being. I'll be here for the next 2 days. If you have any good American jokes I can take back, I'll be great. I thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your session.